Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 503 to 504 for the 11th and 12th of July. Let's start off with major news. The Russian Defense Ministry, or rather the Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, basically made a statement that if the Ukrainians use cluster munitions, as per what United States is currently going to be supplying to Ukraine, Russia will be forced to use the similar weapons against the armed forces of Ukraine. And I think that this is a terrible idea for the Ukrainians to introduce a new type of weaponry into the theater of war, where the Russians also have the same type of weaponry which they have been trying not to use. For example, depleted uranium shells. For example, cluster munitions. The Russians have a lot of it, and once you start to use it, you're just going to introduce a lot more way to die for your troops. And then also another news, the Wagner forces have completed the handing over of all their equipments, ammos, and vehicles to the Russian Defense Ministry, and apparently it's quite sizable. 2,000 items of equipments and armaments has been handed over, including T-90, T-80, T-72B3 tanks, Grad launchers, Uragan launchers, which is Grad and Uragan is multiple launch rocket systems, and Uragan is the big one, the accurate one. And then they have Pencil surface-to-air missile system, 122 self-propelled artillery system, the Novosilka, and the Katsia. Katsia is the it's also self-propelled artillery. And then they have the Gatsia, Tupan, and all sort of, like, they are literally one freaking army. And among them, there is 2,500 tons of ammunition. Oh my freaking god! And 20,000 small arms. So 20,000 small arms, we can easily imagine this 20,000 troops. So at least, at most, I don't know how it's at least or at most, because the Wagners is definitely going to still keep their weapons. So at least they're going to have 20,000 troops. So it's pretty big. To be honest, it's quite a big group of troops. And basically, all the heavy equipments, they will be transported by wheel tractors, not important. And then the Russian Defense Ministry said that they will send all these equipments to the rear. They will be refurbished, maintained, repaired, and then they will be sent to the front again. So that's the part outside of the battlefield. Moving into the Southern Front. At the Southern Front, the Ukrainian forces continue to be landing troops over at Dachi. Reinforcement has been reported at Dachi. I wonder if you can see. At Dachi, which is this salient over here, the Ukrainians have continued to be sending troops over on the 11th of July. And then after that, on the 12th of July, yesterday, they did not send in more troops. They only been resupplying. According to pro-Russian sources, the Ukrainian forces over here, they are just hiding. They are not exactly doing any operations. They are just there. And then artillery shelling on both sides. The Russians continue to try to attack. On the 12th, the assault groups continue to do reconnaissance and search operations to try to find all these Ukrainian forces. And definitely they know they are here, just that they are definitely still attacking. There is footages of Russian tanks moving up this road. There was a hit by Ukrainian artillery or something. I didn't really watch the full footage because it's not really important. And interestingly, the Ukrainians also did an amphibious operation west of the railway bridge. So there is a railway bridge over here, and the Ukrainian forces actually landed over here. And this is reported by pro-Russian sources, saying that these troops is landed. Yeah, they just say they is landed. So on top of this, while they are landing and all this thing, there were Ukrainian aircraft covering them, and during the covering, two Sukhoi 25 got shot down. One at Svatove, and another one is at Tyahinka. So yeah, it's kind of you can see that the Ukrainians are trying to do something. It's just that tentatively it's unclear what they're trying to achieve, because it's actually really costly to be sending aircraft flying all these directions, and then you're not really doing anything. Like, you're just landing troops insufficiently to actually do much things. So anyway, this is just I'm the SITREP, I shouldn't be talking analysis. So anyway, moving on, over at the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, we have reports of fighting over in the eastern part of Patikaki. So this is at the Kayamsky sector. This is Kayamsky. So at the Patikaki is here. In the eastern part, there is Ukrainians attacking over this region. So far, they got repelled by the Russian forces. There's also continued attempt by the Ukrainian forces to enter Patikaki, but this time around they can't get in. They got shelled by Russian artillery, and then they have to bail. I've still listed as under blue because the Russians have no indication that they have actually entered and recaptured it. So to the pro-Russian sources, they say this is a gray zone. For me, it's still under Ukrainian control. It's just that they cannot control it. Sounds like a bad joke. Okay, moving on. There is at the Orikhiv sector. At the Orikhiv sector, in the very exciting but yet nobody seems to care that much place, Robotine, the Ukrainian forces continue to be attacking the Russian lines over here. Information reported by the Russian Defense Ministry as well as by Ryaba. There's Bradleys and to supporting these troops and everything. And then on the 12th, the Ukrainians continue to be attacking the forward positions, so-called the entrenchment at the Robotine, northeast of Robotine. However, at the very end of the day, counterattack has begun from the Russian side, and they have knocked out the 47th Mechanized Brigade, which the pro-Ukrainians say that this did not happen. And the Russian forces have pushed the front line backwards. Now the line is around here. So the Ukrainians have been pushed back away from this road that the entrenchment is built along. So then the rumor currently is that the Ukrainians got pushed back, and they might be actually trying to attempt to withdraw. So you see, they are retreating in the direction of Orikhiv. So we shall continue to monitor if this is the case. Because of course this is very sensitive, because the pro-Ukrainians cannot accept lose or else, like Laksa, like, yeah, never mind. No, yeah, okay. So anyway, the fighting will likely to continue. I don't think the Ukrainians is going to like waste this this push that they have managed so hard to reach. I believe they were going to throw in more troops to push back and try to at least do something, capture Robotine or something, they get some kind of success after all these costs that they have put in. However, the Russians are definitely not going to give them this opportunity as they continue to push back against the Ukrainians. And the Ukrainian supply line is really long, so, and across very hazardous territory south of Novosilka. There's a lot of minefields, and then there's artillery. You do not know when the Russians will send in forward units to hunt armor, to have ATGMs, anti-tank guided missiles, to suddenly hit the tanks and armored vehicles and whatnot. So it is actually very, very hazardous, and the mines that the Ukrainians cleared can be replanted even by remote means, by using artillery and drop mines, or they can send in scouts and recon forces, or whatever you call it in your country, commandos or scouts, and they can actually go in and replant the mine secretly and then run away in the middle of the night. So that's assuming that they don't die from mines themselves. So there are a lot of things can be happening over there, and I should reduce my analysis on the SITREP. I have to remind myself about that. There's nothing over at the Huyaipole sector. Moving into the Velyka Novosilka sector. At the Velyka Novosilka sector, the Ukrainians have managed to push back again. So there is fighting reported near Novosilka as well as south of Rivnopil, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. But information coming from Surya Maps and Ryaba suggests that the Ukrainians have recaptured, or at least pushed the Russians back again along from the river defense line, and the Russians have been pushed back again, and the lines seems to be advanced quite a bit. If if you're going to take into consideration what Surya Maps has reported based on his mapping, there is also attempted assault towards near Priyotny, according to Russian Defense Ministry and Ryba. However, they did not do much because let me see where there's like because as they got struck by artillery and airstrikes. They did not manage to reach Priyotny, but the pressure is building over Priyotny as the Ukrainian forces is moving in multiple directions against Priyotny. Exactly how they did it against Rivnopil, where they attack from multiple angles. So we shall see how this goes. The last information we do get is that the Ukrainians have pushed the line south of the river. So we shall continue to monitor how this goes. And over at the Makarivka Staromayorsky sector, we have the region. There's fighting reported near Makarivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And they say that the motorized unit eliminated infantry close to Rivnopil and attack near Makarivka. So yeah, so the front line definitely have moved forward from Staromayorsky to get a bit closer to Makarivka, which is why the Russian Defense Ministry is reporting in this way. And there is also fighting northwest of Staromayorsky, according to Surya Maps. And the Russian Defense Ministry reported that they repelled the attack of the 35th Marine Brigade. So there is this very big gray zone over here, with the Russians also trying to push them back. Yeah, the fighting seems to slow down a lot over in this region here. It's no longer as intense as it was before. The Ukrainians are still not giving up just yet, but the sensing is that the weight of the entire war is now moving away from this area to the Kreminna region as well as the Avdiivka region. So it doesn't feel like this is that heavy anymore. Whereas it feels like Robertine and this region here, while the fighting is still ongoing, but it's a lot less intense. Moving into the Donetsk Front, at the Donetsk Front, we have fighting reported at Velyka. There is the Russian Defense Ministry on the 12th of July reported that they repelled, they foiled enemy reconnaissance near Velyka, which means that the Russians might be actually pushing the lines forward a bit, that they hit Ukrainian patrols or something. So, and then there is also fighting reported south of Vodian. This actually corroborates the Ukrainian Defense Ministry's this cryptic information where they report. Previously, I did mention that it's a bit weird about Blahodane. So there is this Blahodane over here, and they say that there is fighting reported in the area of Blahodane, and they did not mention exactly where. So information coming from the Russian Defense Ministry say that they actually their forward units detected and take out a Ukrainian platoon south of Vodian. And the Vodian they are talking about is this Vodian, because it cannot be the other Vodian over at the Avdiivka Front, because south of Vodian at the Avdiivka Front is actually the Donetsk airport. So it's actually here, which means the Russians actually have kind of pushed up over this region, or maybe they always had this forward line, we're not sure. And this information was then acknowledged or corroborated by Remlin, the pro-Russian source, where they say that the Russian forces have extended their front line by 2 kilometers, approaching the mines. This is the mine, and which means that the Russian forces over the unknown period of time have moved around 2 kilometers north of Mikhailsky, and they are moving towards towards Vodian, or towards this mine area called the South Donbass Coal Mine number 1. So fighting is still ongoing in this region here. I'm not sure if this will develop into a massive offensive from the Russian side. The area here is very entrenched, so it's not going to be easy. And interestingly, we also have an attempted movement towards Solotke, where the Ukrainian forces moved, and then they got detected and taken out, or at least suppressed and forced them to leave. So fighting is at this region is slowly getting a bit more and more hotter. North of Solovki at the Novosilka region, there is fighting reported on the 11th and 12th of July, reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, with the Russians continue to be pushing in this area here, most likely, because this is where we last known that the fighting is happening. And over at Boyeda, we have fighting reported on the 11th, and Marinka, as usual, traditionally speaking, we always have fighting over here on the 11th, on the 12th. It's only reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, claiming that the Russians are continuing to make the push. The fighting here, part of the units here are the Chechen forces. And moving away from the Donetsk Front into the Avdiivka Front, which is actually also part of Donetsk front lines. Over this region, the Ukrainian forces have launched a massive counteroffensive over the entire front line. There is fighting reported at Novosilka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. However, Ukrainian Defense Ministry say that it is the Russians that is attacking. Over at Pervomaisk, similar situation. There is fighting on the 11th, claimed by both sides, but on the 12th, only the Russian Defense Ministry say that the Ukrainians are attacking. So the Ukrainians are continuing to be attacking in this region here. There's also fighting reported towards Vodian and at the Severny region, information coming from the Russian Defense Ministry and also by Ryba, corroborating the information about the fighting towards Vodian. The fighting at Severny is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. But because of the Russian recent success towards Severny, and they are holding this new line where the Ukrainians are trying to push back, the Russians seems to have some kind of artillery fire control over the road at Latoshkine. This is shown by video footages where Russian drones is spotting Ukrainian positions over here, and then this was then corroborated by Ryba that the road towards Avdiivka, which there's only one road. If you actually watch the quick update about this region here that I have posted, which a lot of you didn't watch, has fallen under artillery fire control. So this but this fire control is not very, how to say, airtight. It's not airtight. So it's just that the artillery is currently able to spot through the support of drones to hit Ukrainian vehicles. So the Ukrainians are trying to secure the road. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry continue to report fighting near Avdiivka without mentioning exactly where. And then the Ukrainians also do a counter-attack over in the northeast and the northern part of Avdiivka, with fighting reported at Vasily towards Krasnohorivka, and also in the region of Petrovskoye. So Petrovskoye is actually here. This is Petrovskoye. So that means the Ukrainians are attacking, counter-attacking. The counter-attack is reported on the 12th. This is also on the 12th. Yeah, correct. It's all on the 12th. So the Ukrainian Defense Ministry in their morning report today reported that the Russians are attacking towards Kreminna. So the situation here is very fluid. The Russians seems to be slowly creeping forward, while the Ukrainians are trying to counterattack to push them back. So we shall continue to see how this Avdiivka situation carry on. And moving on, there's nothing over at the New York front. Moving into the Bakhmut front. So this is Bakhmut city, and at the Bakhmut front, there is fighting continued to be at Klishchiivka. The Russian forces have managed to increase their buffer zone around Klishchiivka, with fighting reported on the western, southwest, west, and northwest direction. They managed to push the Ukrainians back in this region here. The Ukrainians continue to be fighting over this region here. There is fighting reported west of Avdiivka. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they reported that the Ukrainians attack in this direction, west of Avdiivka. Which might be something relating to the fighting north of it. Maybe the Ukrainians are trying to go around instead of trying to go head on. So not sure. And another interesting note, you can see there's a marker here, Avdiivka, and then suddenly we also have Avdiivka word here. Now the reason is because last time Avdiivka was not listed on the Google Maps. So this is something new. This Avdiivka is actually newly added into the map. Over at the northeastern part of Klishchiivka, there is continued fighting. The Ukrainians continue to try to attack in the northwest of Klishchiivka on the 11th and on the 12th, reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. And Ryba reported that the Ukrainians continue to try to penetrate Russian lines. And so situation over Klishchiivka is less tense now for the Russians, as maybe there is reinforcement that allow them to push out further to prevent the Ukrainians from capturing Klishchiivka. So we continue to monitor to see what the Ukrainians going to do in reaction. In the northern flank, the Russians also counterattack over at Bakhmut. Previous information reports that the Ukrainians have entered Bakhmut, and now the Russians have counterattacked and actually pushed the Ukrainians back. The front line is now out of Bakhmut. They have cleared the village, and Ukrainians currently is pushed out. So most likely the Ukrainians currently is going to be around all this forest line region, and trying to plot their next move to see how they're going to enter Bakhmut again. So and then there is the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting at Krychorivka and also at Orikhovo-Vasilivka. For the Orikhovo-Vasilivka, they are more specific. They say east of Orikhovo-Vasilivka. So I'm not sure if this is a projection or is it a misreporting. We didn't see this information about the Russians pushing in this direction, so we shall continue to monitor. And over at the southern part of Siversk Front, the Ukrainians continue their attack towards Soledar. Fighting reported towards Sil and in the south of Novosilka, as well as towards Yakovlevka. So information coming from Ryba, Surya Maps, and Russian Defense Ministry, all different information source. They're all talking about different things. And so the Ukrainians are pushing towards Sil. They're moving south of Novosilka. They are attacking towards Yakovlevka. So the prime objective, of course, is to capture Soledar. So however, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that the Russians are attacking in the area of Vasily. So this is Vasily, and the Russians are supposedly attacking in this direction. So we shall see. I'm not sure if this is actually referring to this one, where the Ukrainians are actually making the push towards Yakovlevka. Maybe the Russians met them and they reported as Vasily. We're not sure, because the Ukrainian Defense Ministry report is always a bit wonky. My nose is so itchy. And over on the eastern part of the Siversk Front, we have Ukrainian counterattack over at Sperne, reported on the 11th and on the 12th. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the Ukrainians are trying to hit back. And then in the northern part, there is also fighting reported at Zolotarivka on the 12th of July, with the Ukrainians trying to move towards Zolotarivka. Nothing over at Bilohorivka, surprisingly. And moving into the Kreminna Front, where the Empire strikes back. And the Russian offensive over at the Kreminna Front, where I have reported over the past few days, is now acknowledged and corroborated by the Russian Defense Minister. Shoigu reported that they have launched and counterattack over in the Krasno-Liman direction and have advanced 1.5 kilometers in depth and 2 along the front. So this entire offensive is now official because it is mentioned. I saw comments on the quick update saying that this is not an official announcement. If I tell you that I eat 3 fish ball, do I eat food or did not eat food? No. Do I need to I shall now officially announce that I have eat 3 fish ball? Do I need to say that? I just say I ate 3 fish ball. So I eat. This is an offensive. This is a announced offensive by the highest military representative of the Russian Defense Ministry. So no. Yeah, it's an official announcement of an offensive. Usually the Russian Defense Ministry or the ministers never talk about the offensive. They don't talk about offensive operations. They very, very seldom talk about it. So when they do, it's something that is very committed. For example, the Battle of Bakhmut. When they talk about they are trying to capture Bakhmut city, they are making progress within the Bakhmut region, how they captured Soledar and everything. These are very committed announcements. So the Russian Defense Ministry, by announcing this, signals the intentions and the seriousness of this offensive. And we can see it also from the map, the changes in the front lines where the Russians are actually moving to in the north of Torske. They're attacking towards Torske, to the west of Dibrova within the Siversk forestry, and there were also attacks towards Yampolivka. And so this is a proper offensive. Regardless what you want to say about it, it's being mentioned, so it is official. The Ukrainians continue to try. So the fighting continues at Dibrova. This is Dibrova. How come this is here? Sorry, this is Serebryansk forestry. Serebryansk forestry. I type it wrong. So this is the Deep State UA continue to report that the Russians are attacking on the 11th of July within the forestry region, the forest plantation. And on the 12th, the Russian Defense Ministry said that the Ukrainians tried to attack within the forest region, and then they got repelled by air force and artillery. So this is currently happening within the forest region. The Ukrainians also tried to attack southwest of Dibrova, according to Ryba. So far, this also have not worked out. The Ukrainians are attacking towards Dibrova, and then because of the progress, remember that I mentioned that the Russians made progress. The lines were previously around here, and then it got pushed forward. This prompts the Ukrainians to actually construct new fortification west of Dibrova. This is reported by the pro-Russian source Ryba. They say that construction equipment had been deployed to the area to build concrete fortifications. So the fact that they need to do this means that the front line have changed, and they need to build new fortification, new lines of defenses in order to halt the Russian advance that is currently ongoing. Fighting is also reported at Dibrova, according to the Russian Deep State UA. They say that there is battle near Dibrova, and the Russian Defense Ministry said that the Ukrainians actually counterattack over at Dibrova on the 11th of July. At Torske, information is very interesting. Surya Maps and Remelin both reported that the Russian forces have reached the outskirts of Torske. In fact, it's actually the suburbs, which is where there are some buildings. They are now attacking into Torske itself, and the suburbs, of course, there are some buildings. So is arguably you can actually say that it's also part of Torske, but the sources are trying to be a bit more conservative. They are saying that this is the outskirts of Torske. They say that it's not Torske. I can't tell the difference. It's like the outskirts of Singapore is still Singapore. The outskirts of Moscow is still Moscow. So yeah, something like this. However, this information is corroborated, it's disputed by the pro-Ukrainian source, Deep State UA. They say that there is no Russian forces at Torske. So they say that this is not true. And Ryba themselves, the pro-Russian source, on the 11th of July, around the same moment as well where this breaking news happens, they say that they do not have information about the situation at Torske. They say that based on several channels, they say that the Russian fighters broke into Torske, but then they have no information about this, so they did not acknowledge this information. And by the 12th of July, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that the Ukrainians have counterattacked close to Torske region, and then in the later report that there were by the, I think this is Central Group of Forces report, they reported that the Ukrainian forces have been trying to attack or counterattack close to Torske. However, they got repelled by air force and artillery. So actually, this is the wrong color. It should be blue. So the Ukrainians are trying to counterattack in this region here. They got taken out or hit or repelled by artillery, but the Ukrainians are still continuing to be attacking while the Russians are also attacking. So situation over at Torske is very, very dynamic. Anything can change anytime. But as I mentioned, the Russians are committed to this offensive, so we are definitely going to see very fierce fighting over in this region. The Ukrainian forces also tried to counterattack over at Terny with recon forces or probing troops attacking near Terny on the 11th and on the 12th. So they are trying to divert attention from the Russians northward, away from the fighting at Torske. So they are attacking here so that they can actually draw reinforcement of forces instead of going to Torske to fight at Terny. So moving up, there is fighting reported east of Nevsky on the 11th of July, reported by Rybar, the pro-Russian source, where they are attacking in this direction towards Nevsky. Nothing much to report about that. And further up north, we are now in the Svatove Front. There is a Ukrainian the Ukrainian offensive operations continue over at Kamazhinivka on the 11th on the 12th. So far, we have no reactions from the Russian side about this Kamazhinivka region. Previously, we do have the Russian Defense Ministry talking about it on the 10th, but 11 and 12, all this information is talking about by the Russian Defense Ministry, my bad. So they continue to report the attack at Kamazhinivka. However, they didn't seem to do a counterattack or something. They're only defending over at this area here. Over further up into the Svatove Front, this is Svatove city. The Svatove further up in the Svatove Front, the Russian forces continue their offensive over at Novosilka, where the Russians continue to be attacking in the south of Novosilka. With latest information, there is clarity in terms of the front line. The Russian forces have controlled most of this line of forest, whereas they did not have full control over the rest of the forest lines over here. So the Ukrainians continue to hold them back, with Ukrainians continue to hold certain lines here. And however, the Russians are definitely still attacking from the south of Novosilka. And with Novosilka itself, fighting continues, with the Russians continuing to be attacking within Novosilka. Reported on the 12th, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that the Ukrainians are counterattacking at Novosilka. And in the latest report on the 13th, Rybar reported that the fighting is still ongoing. So Novosilka is definitely really hot now. Let's continue to see how this goes. Over at the Kupyansk Front, we have nothing over at the Kupyansk Front, and I believe I missed a helicopter shoot down. There is over at near Sloviansk, there is Ukrainian Mi-24, a Hind helicopter, an attack helicopter getting shot down over Shatrovkovka, over this region here, just off Sloviansk. And did I miss any more things? And I think that's everything. Nothing over the Kharkiv Front, nothing over the border between Russia and Ukraine, and that's it. This is the summary for the day of 503 to 504 for the 11th and 12th of July. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.